Hi all. So I'm back with another video, and today my covering this video, I will be covering the most asked. Like basically, it is an interview experience shared by one of my friend, and these questions were asked in one of the Java developer interview for the Infosys company, and the experience range was around 3 to 8 years was required for this position, and they have asked this these questions. Like I've covered both the L1 L2 round questions, so along with the answers I will be covering, there are some few coding Java questions, and apart from this, there are some uh, in JPA questions they have asked, and apart from this, some basic microservices question also they have asked. So that I haven't covered. So and before that, like I've covered till now many of the like playlist I've started. Like I've started this Java features guide, Spring Boot masterclass, and microservices series I've also started. So in the upcoming days, you will be seeing most of the lectures of microservices. And apart from this, I have started from the Java design perspective. And this I have started like because there are no videos particularly available for each of the features of the Java. So that also I have started from Java 7 and covered till up to latest version of Java 25, covered the most used features which are being used. And from the point of the interview also, and from the point of the knowledge also, if you are using Java 17. So you should be aware that these features were there. So that let's get started. And before that, like if you haven't liked, share, and subscribe my channel, please like, share, and subscribe my channel. So yeah, there, let's get started. Okay. So these are the questions which were asked in Infosys Java developer interview question, and the position was of Java developer. Basically, they were looking, and the experience range which was required for this was 3 to 8 years experience, and around 10 to 12 questions are asked, and these were asked in some questions were asked in L1 interview, and some were asked in L2 interview. So I've covered the most important questions basically. Apart from this, some theoretical questions I have left as of now, like some Spring Boot annotations and basic one. So that I'm not covering in this, but I have covered the most asked questions which my friend have shared, and this is the most important question I thought. So I have covering. So first question they have asked, like how do you perform a filter plus map plus reduce in one stream pipeline? Means in Java 8, three operations are there. Filter is there, map is there, and reduce. How you can perform all of the three? You need to give a proper example of this. Okay, so filter, you see filter is an intermediate operations, map is an intermediate operation, but reduce the terminal operation. So reduce will be coming at the end, and filter and map is the intermediate operation. So let's start with the coding only. Okay, so from the coding perspective, let's take any list of this of integer. I'm giving the just basic example. You can take the list of string also. Let me maximize this. Whatever. Okay, arrays dot as list 1, 2, 3, 4. Suppose some random numbers integers I've taken it basically. And now what we need to perform, the question was asked that we need to perform the filter operation should be performed, then map operation is also performed, and reduce operation is also performed. So most of the guys or most of the people I have also used mainly filter and map. But reduce is the another important function which takes as a stream, but it gives the result as a single resultant. Like it can give the result as a sum if you required, if you want the product also required. Suppose concatenation of two strings is required. So that can also be used by the reduce operation. It is an terminal operation. So basically what we will be doing it, we will be first streaming this list. Okay. Then what we will be doing it, we will be applying the first operation that is filter. And as of now, like basic one, what we are doing, we are just checking if it is a even number. Okay. We are filtering the, from the list of integers, we are filtering the even numbers. Then what we will be doing, suppose we are mapping it. Just basic, I'm writing the simple example so that everyone can understand. Then after that, I am squaring each of the digits. Okay. So filter is done. We got the even numbers. Then we have done the square of those even number. Like 2 will be 4. 4 plus 16 will be 20. 20 plus 36 will be around 56. And now what we'll be doing, we'll be summing up in the reduce. I'm using the reduce function for the sum. Okay, there will be comma because generally take two argument, but you can give the single argument also. Okay, now just simply print it. And let me run this. Run as Java application. Okay. So you can see the resultant what we have counted, and our main motive was to just the interviewer want to know that whether you are able to cover all these three operations in a single stream pipeline using Java or not. So we have used the filter also, we have used the map also, and we have used the reduce also. So just give this example to the interviewer, and he will be very happy. If sometimes if they ask or they give some random problems from their side, so you can solve that also. So let me paste this. Okay. It will not directly paste it. Let me write it simple so that, and I will be sharing this uh, in the what I say in my GitHub repository here. These questions along with the answers I will be pasting in the GitHub repository. So if you want to just have a look on it, so please go and visit my GitHub link. I will be sharing in the description. al.stream. Then what we are doing, we are filtering it. Let me rewrite fast. This is the thing. Okay, just ignore the syntax as of now. It is dot, then we are mapping it I into I, okay, then reduce 0 and calling the sum function directly. So this will give you the sum of the even numbers after squaring it. So these three things will be done in a single stream pipeline, you can say, as per the question. Yeah. Okay. So first question was this coding question. Then second question they have asked like what is the difference between the reduce operation and the collect operations? Both are the in the Java streams and both are the like you can say terminal operations. So one is if I say you like one is for collecting or grouping by used for the purpose of like whether it will give you the suppose it can give you the map also, it will give you the resultant of list also, it can give you the resultant of set also according to the requirement. But reduce will always give you a perform you the give the single resultant, whether it will give the sum, whether it will give the product, something like that. So just I have covered this also. Like reduce used for mathematical style reductions, as I mentioned, sum, min, max, product, concatenation, etc. It will produce a single value as a resultant. Okay, just have a look on it. And then for collect, if you go used for mutable reductions, collecting into collections like list, set, map, or building complex results, produces a mutable container. So collect is always what it will give you is it will give you the resultant as it will give you either map or list or something like that. It will collect it is main purpose. But for reduce, it will give a single resultant value, whether it will be a sum, min, max, product, concatenation, etc. Then for return type, reduce returns a single value, collect returns a container or aggregate, or reduce can return you the optional value also. But collect will return either these of the collections only, or even a single string also. Then third question what they have asked, I'm moving on like quick because this will be a quick video. This first question is done, second is done. Now third question what they have asked, like you need to explain the difference between the collectors.groupingBy and collectors.partitioningBy. Like both of you have used and I have made around 4 to 5 videos on this. Like collectors of grouping by mostly I've used on the basis of the grouping or particular method I'm doing the grouping by using the method reference. And collectors dot partitioning by whether what it does, suppose if there is a list, it partitions the even number, it partitions the odd numbers. So that is the main motive. So collectors dot grouping by group elements of the stream by a classifier function, any mapping function. Data type can be map, or if you have a downstream collector use case when you want to group data into multiple categories. So grouping by is generally when you want to group by into multiple categories, you want the resultant as map. As I mentioned earlier, also group by what we do it. Then elements are grouped into many buckets depending on the key, if you see it. Okay. But partitioning by what it does, it partition by it. Name only says that it divide the data into two groups. Okay. Then partitioning by, suppose if length is greater than 5, so it will return the list of, always just have a look that when we are doing the partitioning by, so always the key will be Boolean and its value will be the resultant one. We have done the partition. So if it is greater than 5, so the first pair will be getting the key as true and its values. Then the second pair whose value is less than 5, then Boolean will be resultant will be false as a key and its values. That's how it works. See here, words with less than 5, so key true. Then words less than or equal to 5, then false. Was the third question asked. Then fourth question they have asked, like how would you convert a list of employees? Suppose it is given in employee you are having multiple fields like name, first name. Similar question I've covered in my Java interview series. Please go and watch it if you haven't watched. I will be just writing the answer here directly, or the code. And map, you need to return into a map of department list of employee using streams. So simple, just nothing you need to do. You just need to group by employee property department, and then you need to, it will automatically form a map of department along with the list as a value. Suppose list name was emp dot stream. Okay, take it some different name. It is automatically al dot stream, and then just do the collectors dot grouping by, and just pass the employee and department method name. Okay, get suppose department is there. So it will automatically collect the key as a department of map it will form, and resultant key value will be of list of employee. Just simple code is there. Nothing is there. It is grouping by based on the department. It will automatically form the key as department along with on the basis of the department it will group by, and the values will be of list of employee. That suppose HR, how many employees belong to HR department. So that's how it will group by. Then fifth question, what they have asked, what is the difference between run and start? It is a simple question, like most of you are aware also in multi-threading, that in run, thread will never be created when you are calling the run multiple times also. So it will behave like a single method or like simple method call, and run can be overloaded also. But start method, what it does in start method, when you are calling multiple times, so it will give the error because from the start method, the thread execution or thread starts, new thread of execution starts basically. Suppose I've covered here, like start method is there, declared in thread class, creates a new thread of execution. Okay, calls the run method in a separate call stack. Once you call the stack start method, the JVM schedules the thread for the execution. So this is the example. Suppose it is extending the thread class, as you will be aware that we can create the follow the multi-threading or create the thread using extending thread class or implementing the runnable interface. So like public void run is there. Then in the main method, we are creating a new thread and we are calling the start method. So when we are call the start method, so it will call the new thread. Okay, thread 0 is called. Suppose when we want to get the name of the particular thread, so thread dot current thread dot get name. This is the way when we are printing. So we are getting, okay, the thread 0 is running. We have created a new thread and that is started. But one more thing is there. See here, like in run method, when we are running the thread dot current thread dot get name, so when that particular method is getting called, so what is showing that main thread it is running. Okay, then run method is there, declared in runnable interface, implement or overridden in thread subclass, defines the code that will run when the thread starts. If you call run directly, it is treated like a normal method call, which I mentioned, not a separate thread. So suppose here you don't want to call the start method, you call suppose the run method here. So it will call a normal method call. And when you try to print this also thread dot current thread in the main method, and when you try to print here also, So it will give the resultant as main thread only both the times. It will not give you the new thread name. Here run executing the main thread, not a new one. So no new thread is created. It is the main thread only. Like main method is also a new thread. So this is how it works. Like start method creates a thread and it can be called single time only. But run method can be as like a what you say simple method if you call it multiple times also. Then sixth question they have asked, what is synchronization? Why is it needed? So basically synchronization, if you have heard it, that synchronization helps in the achieves the or resolve the problem of the data inconsistency. Means suppose multiple threads are trying to access a single resource. So it can form or it can fall into a race condition also, data inconsistency problems also. So to avoid these types of problem, there is an inbuilt lock. We can say synchronization is there. Synchronization can be put on the particular block also. Synchronization method can be there. It ensures only one thread can access shared resource at a time, preventing inconsistent or corrupted data. Synchronization means only one thread at a time, rule for shared resources. Now the second question is they have asked like nowadays they are asking what is it and why it is and why it is required basically. So why synchronization is required? Because Java supports multi-threading. Multiple threads may run concurrently. If thread modify the same shared resource without control, problems can occur. Like suppose thread 1 was holding the resource 1, then thread 2 come into picture, and after that, like thread 1 has updated its suppose some value of thread resource 1, but thread 2 is not aware, and thread 2 is also at the same time is acquiring that particular resource 1, is trying to modify it. So it can give some error also, data inconsistency problem also. To avoid this, we have this synchronization. Suppose this, the example I've taken, one integer count is I've taken private variable I've declared, one method I've defined where I'm incrementing the count plus plus, and it is not atomic type. There are like other ways also, variables can be atomic also, volatile also. So that is not aware. We will go on this later on. So public int get count, and we are returning this particular count after incrementing it. Now what we are doing it, we are creating a new thread, creating the object of this counter class, and then what we are doing, we are calling counter dot increment this particular method. And how many times we are calling in a loop? We are calling 1000 times. Similarly, we are creating another thread and calling counter dot increment and another 1000 times. Now we are starting both of the threads like t1 dot start, t2 dot start, then T1 dot join and T2 dot join. So once until unless T1 gets completed, so T2 will not be able to complete. Join method do that. When we are printing the counter that get count, so expected output it is giving us 2000. But because both of the threads have started and both are performing the join operation, but the actual output should be 984, 1984, and 1992, etc. varies. Output can be different because both threads update count at the same time, overwriting each other. So that's why the count is not the expected output, is not the correct one. If we use the synchronization here on this method, increment of this count plus plus, and now the result will always be showing us the final count 2000. So it ensures the thread safety. And but this program, if you run it again and again, so its output will be varying from one output to another output. Sometimes 2000, sometimes it is showing 2500 like this. But this output it is showing always 2000 because we have kept the synchronized keyword on the method level. Key point synchronization ensures thread safety, prevents race condition as I mentioned, and data inconsistency problem. Achieved in Java using the synchronized keywords. Or locks are there, some explicit locks are there, ReentrantLock or read-write lock, or concurrent utilities, concurrent hash map, and atomic integers have this synchronized facility available. Think of synchronization, suppose like a traffic signal at busy intersection. If we are not using the synchronization, suppose a traffic signal, so it will become accidents, and with it safely order exit even if it's slower. Synchronization just main disadvantage is that it makes the resource, the thread will be accessing the access time slower than compared to other. So that's why synchronization sometimes is avoided also. It is having its some disadvantage. And there are other ways, like suppose concurrent hash map, we can use it. So there are other ways to avoid the synchronization, or how we can make the performance wise. We are suppose using the synchronization also, and performance wise, it is good also. There is a what we say in like singleton design pattern, where if we make it synchronized. So there are multiple approaches. Later on, we will be covering there. in some other video. So what is fault sharing? Next question. Fault sharing happens when multiple threads modify different variables. Suppose different variables are containing huge a lot of data is there and we are running into loop and loop. So fault sharing is a condition that happen to lie close together in memory, same CPU cache line. Even though the variables are independent, the CPU cache system treats them as one block. This causes unnecessary cache invalidation, slow down performance. Means suppose, let me give you an example. Suppose these are the variables. We have taken a volatile. Volatile is a way that we can make that particular variable as synchronized. And in a loop, we are accessing through the class and we are incrementing both the variables. So X and Y are different variable, but they get might be placed in the same cache line. So both threads intentionally slow down each other. So main disadvantage of fault sharing is that it slow down the performance and sometimes like output or the end result may vary. And this why happens this fault sharing is a condition because some of the modern CPU don't load variables one by one and they load data in chunks, like into chunks of data they loaded, which is called the cache lines also. If two thread works on different variables that fall into the same cache line, one thread update invalidates the cache line for the other. CPU keeps bouncing cache line between cores. This creates contention even though there is no real data dependency. Means suppose there is a huge lot of data and so these huge loops is coming, which are incrementing is there, and both the variables are written at that same time. So what is there? It is a CPU is what is it is doing internally? It is taking the chunks of data, and sometimes what has happened that X and Y both have taken this suppose block of data. So when they are trying to increment, suppose X is trying to increment it, then Y it is trying to increment it via thread 2. So at the same time, if it is trying to increment it, so their values can be changed or they can give you the some performance issue in the CPU because CPU might get confused. Okay, this is huge of lot of data. So and they are placed into the same cache line. So they might get be placed in the same cache line. This is a condition internally, like this condition mostly occurs when you work on a lot of data in the multi-threaded environment because this is the interview question they have asked, but in the real world scenario, it, not much occurs. But we need to take care of it and we should be aware of this condition, fault sharing. How we can avoid the fault sharing? There are ways like padding is there. So padding, what it does, you can put some variables, extra variables in between these two variables, which you are not using, like some P1, P2, P3, P7, and so which avoids which CPU is considered. Acha, okay, this is a different chunk of data and this is different chunk of data. Some variable go with Y, some variable go with X. So that's how it works. Then second is at the rate condentation on annotation is there, in which is from the Java 8 version, but it needs JVM option. Some extra condition needs to be take care of into JVM. This condition is there, restrict contented. Then you can put this annotation on both the variables if you faces this fault sharing condition. Okay. Use concurrently. Tip is there. Like if you don't want to fall into this fault sharing, just use the long adder is there. Data structure or concurrent hash map is there that internally avoids the fault sharing. So, what are its conclusion? Fault sharing is equals to performance bug, not correctness bug. Happens when independent variables share the same cache line, causes unnecessary cache invalidation and performance issue, as I mentioned, between threads, fixed by padding at the contented or better concurrency utilities like concurrent hash map or long adder. Suppose, for example, think of it like two people are trying to write on the two pages of the same notebook. They are not editing the same sentence, but the notebook keeps being taken away and passed back, is slowing both down. Like on the same page, if they are trying to write down, so they can like have this type of condition, which is the fault sharing. Now, the next question they have asked, like, how would you implement a producer or consumer problem? So this is the most asked question. Like this question was asked in with me also, and this is necessarily if they are covering the multi-threading environment, if they want to know if you are aware about multi-threading, so they will ask this producer consumer problem. So producer, what it do? It generates the data and puts in a shared buffer. Then from consumer perspective, you take it and process it. Just have a limit that the buffer where this producer put the data, so data should be present. So that how we need to design this producer consumer problem, and there should be no race condition. Thread safety should be achieved. So this I will be doing via coding producer consumer problem. So this we need to first thing is that we need to create two classes. Producer main class is already there, so we don't need to create it. Then we need to create one consumer classes. It is a simple one, but the thing is that if you haven't used not much use the multi-threading, like me also, I haven't much worked on the multi-threading part, so it will be a difficult for you. But it is a simple one, trust me. Nothing is there. Okay, so both the classes have been created. Now there are two ways: extending thread class and implementing the enable interface. There is a difference also, but as of now, like I will not go much deep on that part. I will be extending the thread class. Okay. Now, what we will be doing it? Basically, we will be creating, we have extended the thread class, so we need to override the run method also. But for storing the data, which producer is producing it, we will be using the data structure as blocking queue, because blocking queue is a data structure which ensures the thread safety also. Otherwise, there are other ways also, like using the wait notifier, but that will be a lengthy way. So we will not use that. Blocking queue of integer, suppose we have taken it, and it will be I have taken it private so that it should be accessible at the class level only. Okay, it will be imported. Then create one constructor. Constructor will be of queue, and we will be taking the limit also, like how much data should be produced at a time. So that limit we will be taking from the end user in the main method. So just take one constructor, okay, and the same blocking queue of integer and limit we will be taking, like how much data we should store it from the producer into the blocking queue. Then this dot queue equals queue. Then this dot limit. Okay, we need to have this dot limit. Why it is taking different? Okay, something it is giving the error. Okay, we haven't declared this limit and we are directly using it. So there should be limit one. Okay. So this thing is done. So I'll be creating the producer, and some changes are required to a consumer that will be copying directly. So producer, I'm creating it from starting from scratch. Public void run is there method. Then what we'll be doing it as we are overriding it. So put the override annotation. Now exception will be there under interrupted exception, so that we can exit from the loop easily if any exception occurred also. So for int I equals to 0, I less than limit I plus plus. Okay. Then sys out, and what will be producing it? We will be printing here in sys out and I. And the same we will be putting into the queue. Queue dot put and I will be stored here. Okay. Now, as of now, it is fine. Now, what will be doing it for the consumer to be aware that queue is empty, going to empty, something like that. So we will put here -1 condition. So it will be aware, okay, queue is going to empty. Now this is giving the error because we haven't handle the exception here. So just use the interrupted exception is there, which interrupts the thread from the sleeping state. So that's why we are also covering, and suppose if the exception occurs, so that's why it is a good practice. We keep it the try catch. Basically, we'll be going to sleep this thread for some duration of time. So that's why we have used the interrupted exception. If thread dot current thread is there, okay, dot interrupt will be calling directly. That is fine. And here we will be suppose for 5 milliseconds this producer thread when we will be calling it, so it will sleep for 5 milliseconds, or 5 will be fine, or 300 will 3 milliseconds also fine. Okay, so that is it for the producer end. Now let me copy this into the consumer. Simple. We have created consumer class. Now producer has produced the data. Similarly here also it will extend the, I will explain again once. Just let me write the code first and run it. Okay, and just few changes are required here. Here we don't want any limit as we will be getting the data. So we can remove this. Okay, because limit is required where we want to can produce we are producing the data. Okay, but in this we don't want it. So that's why we will be removing the limit. And if we are removing the limit, so we want to consume the data. And for consuming the data, we'll be getting the data int, suppose value is there, and q dot take, but it blocking q gives the capital integer or the wrapper class data. So capital integer is required, and this print the value here. Okay, and q dot put is not required, and this for loop will also be not required. Here we will be requiring this interrupted exception, because once we get the -1, then we need to break this loop. That is our main motive. Okay, just remove this all as of. So this is the consumed data it is getting, and now we want to check the condition. If value equal, we have put the condition in the producer, like if we are getting -1 as soon as, so it should stop it. Consumer suppose is stopping, and that thing should be as soon as it gets the -1, this statement SOP is printed, so we'll be uh, breaking it directly. And now this is not required here. Okay, now what is required? We need to sleep this thread also for some duration, and suppose 5 milliseconds. For that I've taken 3 milliseconds, this I'm taking as 5 milliseconds. Okay, so that's it. Consumer is fine, our producer is fine. Now simply just create the threads. So for that, just removing this, as I have already mentioned here and there. Just create the blocking queue of integer queue. Okay, new. Suppose we are taking array blocking queue. This I have taken because it helps in the achieving the thread safety option, and it is simpler. As you can see directly, we are like stack and queue data structures are the simpler one, but the thing is that you should be aware of all the methods and its advantage disadvantages when it is required. Like if you have saw my video of valid parenthesis also, problem is there in Java, which is easily solved via stack or this queues one. If you try to solve some other way, so that will be very much complex. So that's why stack and queue are most used data structure. Suppose new producer and queue we need to pass comma and limit is 10. Then consumer CA, just taking the short name, consumer, and in bracket we need to pass queue. So p dot start thread, then c dot start. Now let's run it. So till 10 it will run. We have kept the limit as 10. Now as soon as it got the -1, it got stopping. See here from the producer and what it happened. Okay, here it is gone. Show console. We need to minimize that thing. Okay, leave as of now. So from producer end, we are created one constructor of the producer. Inside that, we are passing the blocking queue and the limit, like how much loop will be running it. Then what we are doing it, we are producing it via this for loop and storing into this queue. Then after, like for some duration, we are calling this thread.sleep so that as soon as it like this producer is produced and it is sent to the consumer, so it goes to sleep for some duration. Then like sometimes after producer it can easily consuming at the same time, like as you can see for 0 0 it is produce 0 then consume 0 then produce 1 then consume 1, but in multi-threading we can't achieve the order of the result. Similarly, produce 2, but produced again 3, then consume 2. It is taking some time for the consumer because consumer is also sleeping for 5 milliseconds and producer is also sleeping for the 3 milliseconds. And here we are putting the condition as -1. As soon as the consumer is we got the consumer -1, it got went for the break statement and it went out the like outside. So that is the main advantage. And if you see in the consumer end, we have taking this value and we have put this while loop as true condition. So it can form a infinite loop also. But we have put this break condition as soon as the value becomes -1, it will break the condition. And then we are calling this thread.sleep. Otherwise, if this condition is not there, break one. That is the simple one. If you see, we have just nothing. We have created two class, producer one, which is producing the data, and the consumer one, which is consuming the data, and how it is working. Like we are storing the data into the queue, and we have gone the limit that suppose 10, we have kept the limit as 10 of loop. So 10 numbers are getting produced and 10 numbers are getting consumed also. Okay, where is show view console? So, from 0 it is got started. So till 9 it will be there. 0 to 10 or 1 to 10 you can say. So 10 numbers are getting produced, get 10 numbers are getting consumed. As soon as it is -1 it is going. So it is printing or it is breaking it. So instead of putting here, we don't want it this -1. We want to be printed here. So what it will happen? Now if you run it, so that -1 will not come in the output. See here. 0 produce, 0 consume, 1 produce. Similarly, at the 9, 9 produce and consume 9. Then after, as soon as it got -1, it already started blocking or started breaking the loop. This statement of -1 doesn't got printed. So that was earlier was not correct. So we have corrected this. And this, as I mentioned, like for interrupting from the sleep of particular thread, this particular exception is required, or this particular interrupt method is very important from the point of perspective. And this is the another question which has been asked in many of the interviews. So you can easily see we have handled by exception handling the run method, and we are just consuming it. Okay. In producer, we are producing it, and in the main method, we are calling both that class, creating objects and passing this queue of array blocking queue of size of 5. We have created the sizes of 5. Then we are passing the limit as 10 from explicitly in the producer, and then consumer, we are passing this queue, and then we are starting both the threads, producer and consumer. So that is a simple code. Let me know if you have any doubts. I will put this code into my GitHub repository. Okay, yeah. So this how you can implement the producer consumer simple problem via blocking queue. There are other approaches also, like wait notifier is also there, but that is the lengthy approach. We will not go with that. And it this blocking queue achieves the thread safety also. Then what is the difference between the synchronized and the reentrant block? So synchronized is the implicit type of blocking that it comes with the advantage that once the thread exits the block method, this lock is automatically released even if an exception occurs. Always re-entered, a thread can acquire the same lock again without deadlock. So always re-entered means that thread can acquire the same lock again without deadlock. Means synchronized can be a block also, synchronized can be a method also. So you does not need to explicitly block, lock or unlock also. In synchronized, it will automatically release the lock as soon as that particular method or block is getting executed. Once the thread exit from that particular, sorry. So see here, this block is there. Once the thread has gone through it, so this lock will automatically release here. But in reentrant log, it is an explicit lock class stored in java.util.concurrent.logs. You need to explicitly do the locking also, unlocking also. This is the manual way you can say. And offers try log and lock interpretability. Not going much in deep. Just theory part I covered, so you can just read it. So yeah, you need to unlock also via finally block. So that is the case, but nowadays finally is not being used as I mentioned earlier also. Instead of finally, we are using try with resources because finally is not guaranteed whether it will be executed when. So that for try with resources is a good one that it will automatically release the lock. So there, if you have mentioned it, so lock will automatically released. So when to use what? Synchronized uses when needs are simple. For most common thread safe matter block, cleaner and less error prone. When it is needs are simple, but reentrant is there when you took facing with multiple condition variables, then you need to explicitly lock from your side. When you need fairness, try lock or interruptible locks. So this is the example I've taken. For automatic car is there, so that is synchronized. But if it is a manual car, more control is there. Must you manage carefully from your side, then re-entrant lock. That is the major difference if you say for the example perspective. Then question number 10, what is volatile keyword? Volatile keyword is used so that that particular variable can be accessed by a thread at a simple time, at a time. Ensure reads write to the variables are directly done to a main memory, not cached in the CPU register or thread local caches. In simple words, volatile guarantees visibility of changes to variables across the threads. So three ways are there. Synchronized is there for block and method. For variables, volatile and atomic is there. Now there is a major difference, slight difference of with atomic and variable. That volatile does not guarantee atomicity for compound operations like count plus plus. Like if you are doing the some count plus plus operations as a volatile, you have declared this count. So that will not be guaranteeing the atomicity like the result will not be having the guarantee of this you are incrementing it so multiple threads when try to access or do some changes so it will not be having the guarantee of atomicity in volatile but atomicity if you are using the atomic variable of count then it is having the guarantee of the atomicity also that same result will be there if you are doing the count plus plus operations also so that's why volatile is used with the Boolean operations like flag or state variables shared between the threads. Suppose Boolean running goes to true, used to stop a thread, suppose for example. That is the way of volatile. This was the 10th question. Then 11th question they have asked, n plus 1 problem in the Hibernate. This is the most famous problem or the most asked interview questions also. Like suppose author is there and book is there. I'm just giving the example directly. And so one author can have one to many, we have done the mapping. So one author can have similarly one to many, one author can have many books. Similarly, many author can have one book also. Many author can write a single book also. So that is that case. So suppose now you want to fetch all the authors and their books So they will be running again and again different queries. So ORM executes one query to fetch author.getBooks, select from author. Then for each author, it executes one query to fetch their books also. Like how many books author has written? One too many. Like one author has written multiple books. So that's why it will be again running the query. Multiple queries will be running. So, if you have n authors, so you run 1 plus n queries, and hence the name is got the problem is n plus 1 select problem in Hibernate or JPA. Okay. So Hibernate, if you are not aware, so Hibernate is a popular ORM tool of JPA, and there is a way that you can resolve it. If n is large, it can cost large or 100,000 of queries. If you can see directly slowing down the application performance also, waste database resources, increases latency also. So how we can solve this 1 plus n plus 1 problem? Eager fetch is there or join fetch is there. Like on the query where you can use the join fetch. So you can be joining these two tables, author and books, and in a single SQL query only both the things will be coming at a same time. Or batch fetching is there. You can batch or perform the size that this particular books will be executed at a time. But this is the good one that you use the join fetch into the query only. So it will fetch all the result at a single time. Then the n plus 1 select problem happens when your ORM executes one query for the main entity plus n queries for each related entity, which can be avoided with join fetches, batch fetching, or projection. Is there is third way also with DTO that I haven't covered much because that is a complex way. So as my preference, you can do the eager fetch or lazy fetch is there. Like eager fetch, all data will be coming at a time, and lazy fetch is there. Then when you require the second entity related entity data, then only it comes. So by default, it is having the lazy fetch. Now you change it eager fetch using the join fetch option, that all the data will be coming at a time. So this is a good approach when you have the multiple this type of condition one to many mapping you are using, and a lot of data is there. So just have a look that in the at the rate query annotation when you're writing the query, just use the join so that it joins both their tables. How do you implement inheritance in JPA? There are three ways. Single table inheritance is there, then joint table inheritance is there, and table per class is there. So in single table inheritance, like single table will be created vehicle suppose, and it will be storing the data of car also and bike also, which is extending this parent class vehicle. So suppose, okay, it is not something from the code. I guess it is cut wrong. Yeah, leave it this. I'll leave it. So just have a look that this vehicle will be a single table, and under this car and bike will be there. Similarly, joint table inheritance, like vehicle will be there, and each class will be having its own table. Means vehicle will be having its own table, car will be having its own table, and bike will be having its own table. But they will be connected via foreign key. FK means foreign key. They will be connected. Generally, we uses this type of approach only when we have the inheritance also, but it is as per the requirement. Then table per class is there. Inheritance type dot table per class means each concrete class has its own table with all fields of parent class included. No parent table is used for storing data. So parent table is not used for any storing data. Each concrete class which is extending this vehicle class, suppose car and bike will be having its own uh, table, and it is will be having the parent columns data also. So it is simple because no joins are needed with the parent class, and directly we can access the data from the car and it will get the data of the parent class also. So that is the advantage of this table per class. Before that, we have studied joint table inheritance and the single table inheritance. Three types of inheritance is there. How do you write a native SQL query in JPA? So there are two ways using at the rate query annotation, use it, and value inside that you write your own custom native SQL query. Means the SQL query which were you were using earlier. It's so in Hibernate also or JPA you can write this way at that query annotation value. You can pass your own query here like this, and in native query just write it equals to true. This is the one way. And another way is using at the rate named native query. You can write it at the rate named. You need to write the name like this, then the query, then result class, some certain parameters are there inside that, so that you need to follow it. Or using entity manager dot create native queries another way. Like entity manager, you need to declare it into your DAO class, then you write the create the native query, then you set the parameter, or you that directly get the result list dot get result. This is the also good approach. This is also a good approach. Then this is a good approach as per the convenience which is easier to you or which you have used most. So these are the 13 questions which were asked in the Infosys interview, covering the L1, L2 interview questions, and it is for the position of 3 to 8 years experience. If you see, like it has covered the simple questions also, and it has covered the mostly the complex question also, like producer consumer problem. So you should be aware of these things. That's it from my side. If you have any doubts, any suggestions, any feedback, I will cover sharing this file in my Git repository along with that producer consumer problem also I will commit it. So please go and watch it and let me know if you have any doubts, any suggestions in the comments. Please like, share, and subscribe.